Hey everyone, and again, Happy New Year. But yeah, I kind of sort of wanted to sort of show off sketches of my ideas. I kind of want to sort of describe my ideas for the episodes in Power Hour Resurgence. And yeah, they may contain slight spoilers what I've planned, so if you don't want to get spoiled, you can leave if you want. Although, then again, it's probably going to be a while. So if you don't mind spoilers, feel free to stick around. I'm also kind of going to use this sort of list of episodes from Wikizilla for reference. Firebird and Earth Eater, you've already seen my ideas of what they would be like in my custom designs for Rodan and Baragon, possibly Anguirus. Attack of the Stone Creature. Something I thought would be kind of cool is if maybe one of them would be based off a lion and the other would be based on another big cat in Africa. You also notice these marks. They may look pinkish white on camera, but in reality I kind of colored them a purple color. This is kind of part of the origin I kind of thought about. In my version of the episode, I kind of thought of like an idea where Ramal, I think that's the name of the pharaoh or whatever. Essentially, what happened is that his spirit possessed these statues, and they kind of act in a sort of hive mind kind of thing. And that's why, and to sort of show this, the gaps in the statues would sort of glow purple to sort of give off this supernatural effect. And also maybe at the end, maybe one of them crushes into the other, and they kind of sort of combine into this one statue with two heads and multiple limbs. And Godzilla pretty much destroys it. Megavolt monster. It probably looks something like this, with these sort of tusks, a horn, as well as a sort of dorsal fin on the back. Seaweed monster. I kind of thought of making it look slightly less humanoid, and maybe also having a lot of seaweed hanging from its arms. Almost like how in some zombies you'd see flesh hanging out their skin. Or skin hanging off their body, you know what I mean. Also maybe like a little piece of seaweed that kind of connects to the jaws. So that when he opens its mouth, it would sort of stretch out. Just something I thought would be kind of cool. Energy Beast. Maybe something like this. Also, for one, spoilers, the Energy Beast disguises itself as Godzilla. I kind of thought about maybe taking out the electric outline that the fake Godzilla has, and instead slightly change Godzilla's design, or have the Energy Beast Godzilla look slightly different from the actual Godzilla. Colossus of Atlantis. I initially thought of using Mechagodzilla, but then I thought it would make more sense to use Mogera instead. I'm probably going to save Mechagodzilla for later. Horror Forgotten Island. I originally thought of maybe using Gigan for the episode, but while sort of quote-unquote re-watching the episode, before I kind of describe what I noticed about the episode, I might as well just say that if you want to check out the actual synopsises of the episode, you could go check out the list of episodes on the Hanna Barbera Godzilla series article on wikizilla.org. But basically, the episode itself, it took place on this island that was surrounded by a sort of force field, I guess, which kept the Cyclops creature in, which it prevented it from getting out into the world. So essentially what's happening is that Godzilla is pretty much trying to escape the island, but then, the Cyclops creature appears. Essentially what's supposed to happen is that the Cyclops creature just becomes invisible, so Godzilla's pretty much being blocked by the Cyclops creature, who is invisible, which would in a way increase the sort of drama. Sounds great on paper. The execution, though... Well, just look. All they're doing is standing around doing nothing. What could have been a great concept was kind of dumbed down by the fact that they're just standing there doing nothing but roaring at each other. I understand that it's aimed toward younger audiences, but still. I feel it could have been pulled off so much better if the monsters weren't just standing there doing nothing. So I kind of thought about maybe redesigning the Cyclops creature. Something like this is what I initially thought of, although I feel like I kind of thought about maybe making the build more akin to the Cyclops in The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and making the head more, or face more, humanoid. But then I also thought of a way to maybe implement Gigan in there while also implementing the finale I wanted for the Cyclops creature. I kind of thought that of a basically at first Gigan would be able to fly, but Godzilla pretty much damages one of the sails that allows him to fly, and Gigan uses a secondary ability that was programmed into him, the ability to turn invisible, and thus, and that would come into play in in the climax when Gigan is trying to prevent Godzilla from escaping. The idea, well, when attacking Godzilla while invisible, Gigan would sort of have a pattern. He would charge at Godzilla into the front like this. He would kick Godzilla on this side. He would kick him, or maybe he would kick him in that side too. From that side, he would shoot a laser, and the cycle would repeat. I think once the pattern repeats goes a second time, that's when Godzilla would quickly figure out the pattern, and he pretty much uses atomic breath in front of him because that's where Gigan's going to end up next. It would hit Gigan and reveal Gigan's location, and then Godzilla would pretty much just demolish Gigan. And I think that does sound a little cooler than what happened in the original episode, because A, the main enemy is actually be somewhat of a threat, and B, Godzilla seems more cool. Not only that, but like also makes him seem more intelligent because he's able to figure out a pattern. So yeah, what do you guys think? Should I use Gigan or should I keep the Cyclops creature for the final draft of the episode? Island of Lost Ships. The Minotaur would it would almost look like a bipedal bull. So rather than having the literal body of a man, maybe it could have a sort of build of a man. As for the Chimera in the episode, it probably looks similar to how it does in the original episode, until much later when it develops a snake for a tail and a sort of second head, which would be a goat head. Kind of like how it's depicted in Greek mythology. For the last four episodes, 10, 11, 12, and 13, I kind of thought about maybe shifting the order so that it kind of fits better with the story I had in mind. The idea I kind of had in mind was that by the beginning of the series, Godzilla would be this sort of force of destruction that is feared by people. By the end of season 1, people would be like, okay, yeah, we can kind of trust him, I guess. And then by the end of the series, he's a lot more cool with people now. And I felt the best way to do that would be to sort of shift the order of the episodes for a bit. So first of the last four episodes of season 1 would be the Sub-Zero Terror. And I kind of had two ideas for the episode itself. The first idea would be to kind of basically keep the original story itself. Maybe slightly change the ending, but I'm not entirely sure. What would that second idea for the Sub-Zero Terror be? Well, I think the following sound effect is enough to sort of let you know what I'm going for the second idea. Yep, that's right. The second idea I had for the Sub-Zero Terror is Kong versus Godzilla. It would basically take place on Skull Island. And pretty much the natives, they would kind of seem hostile at first, but then it's revealed, oh, sorry, we just thought you were trespassing in our territory. And Kong kind of has the same situation, especially when Godzilla pretty much arrives. And I'm sure some of you are wondering who would win. I'd probably have Godzilla win, although I wouldn't have him kill Kong. Godzilla would knock out Kong for a bit, would realize, it would pretty much be like, well, this guy ain't evil. He ain't too bad. I guess he just felt that I was trespassing his home, so I guess I'll get out of here. I also thought of maybe implementing elements of the King Kong show Kong design for my Kong, for the Kong that would appear in the episode. But yeah, let me know what you think. Should I go with the original version of Sub-Zero Terror, or should I go with the Skull Island version? I'd be interested to see what you'd think. After Sub-Zero Terror would be the Time Dragons. The episode would be pretty similar with some differences. The Time Dragon would probably be replaced with Gorosaurus. This is one idea I had for how Gorosaurus could look, with a sort of triangle-shaped tail, and a head similar to an Allosaurus. With those little horns, I was kind of trying to sort of emulate the crests that you would see on an Allosaurus. The Diplodocus is definitely getting replaced because, well,
and they weren't too choosy about what they ate.
yeah. I know that it's technically a cartoon and that this is the Godzilla franchise we're talking about, but come on. I initially thought of replacing it with Titanosaurus, as in the kaiju himself, but like Mechagodzilla, I decided to save him for later. But yeah, I thought about replacing Diplodocus either with the giant behemoth. I mean, he looks like a carnivorous sauropod, and I'm pretty sure he lives in the ocean, so yeah, I wouldn't be too far off. Either the giant behemoth or the Resurgence would probably replace Diplodocus. Again, not sure who to go with. The giant behemoth would probably be like a greenish color with dark green stripes. As for the Resurgence, he'd probably be like either a dark grayish blue color with even darker stripes and a light underbelly. Also, there were cavemen in the original episode. Again, I know it's a cartoon, but yeah, I kind of wanted to change that. Instead of cavemen, I kind of thought about maybe having them be aliens that kind of came to Earth to study it, but their ship crashed and pretty much all technology they had was destroyed, so they kind of had to act like cavemen. And I decided to use the Pyrans from Warning from Space. That's a 1956 movie, and essentially, basically, from what I've heard, what it's about is that they're pretty much come to warn humans of a rogue planet that's coming to Earth. As for why they wanted to come to Earth, well, I may have to revisit Colossus of Atlantis for a bit. At the end, when, spoilers, it's revealed that the Atlanteans are actually aliens, by the time they kind of fly to space, I kind of thought of maybe having the Calico crew sort of receive a video message from Kara L, where he pretty much explains that they kind of call it, they were Mysterians that lived on Mars, but unfortunately it encountered a space anomaly, as they described it, which forced them to sort of look to move to Earth for a bit. The starfish aliens, which are the Pyrans, they'd have a similar story. Their planet came across a space anomaly, and they had to move to Earth. And anyone who got left behind basically died. I even thought of a sort of ending where Gorosaurus, he's sent back to the prehistoric times, and we pretty much see the Pyrans taking down Gorosaurus, only for the space anomaly to arrive and pretty much possibly kill Gorosaurus, and kill the Pyran aliens. Then we would get the Magnetic Terror, which would kind of be like the Time Dragons, in which the story is similar but with some differences. I originally thought of maybe having Gamera team up with Godzilla against the magnetic monster, although I highly doubt he would benefit the story. So, especially for a new one I thought about for the episode. The idea being that there were two Kameba's brothers. The older one gets mutated into the magnetic monster. So in a way, the younger Kameba's kind of has a sort of, please don't hurt my brother kind of thing. But he eventually realizes there's pretty much no way to turn back. So he's gonna have to help Godzilla. Then we would get the Breeder Beast as the season finale. Or as my version would be called, the Smog Monster. Again, the story would be similar but with some key differences. A huge difference would be the Breeder Beast would be replaced with Hedorah. He would start out as the aquatic stage, and then as a landing stage. I thought of maybe giving him a triangle-shaped tail, and a sort of head similar to a salamander. The flying form, the wings, or the little legs, the limbs would look more like the wings on an airplane. And we have the final or perfect form, which wouldn't be too different from the Showa perfect form Hedorah. Another difference is continuity. It would eventually be discovered that Hedorah is actually the result of pieces of a seaweed monster ending up in polluted waters, which would end up mutating to pieces, and they would pretty much form into a new creature. So when Hedorah sees Godzilla and Godzuki, he would pretty much recognize them. Another difference is the final battle. After Hedorah pretty much learns to sort of control himself so he doesn't explode when Godzilla uses atomic breath, we would pretty much then before that, while he's feeding at a power plant, we would see him fight Baragon or whatever monster I decided to go with in episode 2. And then, like, near the finale of the episode, suddenly Baragon and Rodan come in to fight Hedorah because they already fought him before and it basically defeated them before and they wanted revenge. So essentially we'd have Godzilla team up with Rodan and Baragon to stop Hedorah. I even thought of a way to reference a certain scene in Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Yeah, I thought about referencing the scene in the movie where Godzilla flies, except instead Godzilla would sort of use the atomic breath as a sort of it's kind of hard to explain. Essentially what would happen is that Godzilla would slam his tail into the ground, and at the same time Godzilla would fire his atomic breath, so he kind of launches forward. He stops using the atomic breath for a bit, lands at Hedorah, and pretty much uses this sort of nuclear pulse to paralyze Hedorah. The episode and the season itself would end in Godzilla, Rodan, and Baragon essentially just walking away. Pretty much showing that Godzilla can cooperate with other organisms and possibly even people if he had to. He still doesn't like people, but if for whatever reason he needs to work with them, he will do that. Now on to season 2. Remember when I say that I'd save Titanosaurus for later? This episode of Calico Clones is what I'm referring to. Dr. Voltring would be renamed Dr. Mifune, and basically what would happen is that he's taken control of Titanosaurus while also revealing that he created a monster. Godzilla fights Titanosaurus first and pretty much manages to destroy the device that's controlling Titanosaurus, causing Dr. Mifune to unleash the monster he created, who turned out to be none other than Jiras from the original Ultraman. Since the episode itself was about cloning, I thought it would make sense to sort of introduce Jiras and pretty much explain that he's a Godzilla clone. Well, I don't know if I'd say clone, but he's a hybrid that has Godzilla in his DNA. I wanted him to vaguely look like Godzilla since that is what made him so recognizable, while also having him look unique. So I gave him a crocodile head, webbed hands. I tried to make those look like crocodile feet, but I think that they look more like Godzilla 2014 feet. Fin like dorsal plates, and a tail similar to a tadpole. Micro Godzilla. This is the last episode of Season 2 that I watched, although I do plan on watching the rest eventually. Again, the story would be similar, though, again, with a few differences. Something I thought would be kind of funny was if, as Godzilla gets smaller, maybe he would kind of start to act like Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist, where he just doesn't like being short. An idea I also thought would be interesting was if, even if he was small, his attacks are still really powerful to the point where if he uses it on the wrong place, it could easily destroy it. Also, I thought about either keeping the giant fly in the episode, or maybe using, or two other ideas I had. Replacing it with either Megaguirus or Kamacuras, as some people say. Although I may have to save Kamacuras for a later episode. Ghost Ship would probably have... The rest I'd probably have to see the actual episode to see what I would change. Same for Beast of Storm Island. City in the Clouds. So yeah, Ghidorah is going to be in my version of City in the Clouds. And he would replace the Power Dragon. Considering that the Power Dragon is a dragon that can shoot electricity from its mouth. I mean, come on. Tell me that doesn't sound familiar. It would also be revealed that Ghidorah is the space anomaly that has been destroying many civilizations. Pretty much like the Showa Ghidorah or anime Ghidorah. I know it seems a bit cliche, but still. And something like this is how I imagine my Ghidorah to look, with horns similar to an elk, or similar to antlers, And I imagine him with quills running down the backs of his necks and his back and the tails. I originally thought of giving them red eyes with snake-like pupils. But then I saw someone do an edit of Trailer 2 of Godzilla King of the Monsters using footage from the Hanna Barbera Godzilla series. And, of course, he used the Power Dragon for Ghidorah, and I noticed that it kind of had plain yellow eyes, which, in the quills, and which kind of made it look kind of eerie, I guess. So to pay tribute to that, I also thought about giving the heads plain red eyes, or just giving them GMK eyes in general. Also, the episode would have Godzilla and Rodan teaming up against Ghidorah, not unlike Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. Also, while I thought that the episode could end with Ghidorah maybe being sent back to the city in the clouds, I thought of a potential scene later on in the series where a portal opens and Ghidorah comes out of it, and it's pretty much revealed that he destroyed the entire city and is on his way to Earth now. Value of the Giants would probably be similar to the original episode, except the giant Black Widow would be replaced with Kumonga. Don't know about the giant Dragonfly. Maybe have Kamacuras in there. Moonload would be similar to the original episode with a few ideas I had in mind, mainly having to do with the episode's Monster of the Week. I kind of had 3 ideas. Idea number 1, simply keeping the Gravity Goliath. Actually, scratch that. I had 4 ideas. The second idea is using Goliath from Daigoro vs. Goliath. The third idea is bringing in Red Moon from the scrapped movie Godzilla vs. Red Moon. The fourth idea I had in mind, and I know some of you are going to groan at this, is using my own version of Bagan. I know he's overused in fan works, but my version of him would be different. Instead, he would kind of be portrayed as this lost monster from the moon. And he won't be overpowered like a lot of fan works make him out to be. He's basically just scared, basically. But yeah, I'd probably gonna go with Red Moon since I don't see, I feel like he might be a slightly more interesting character. Golden Guardians. It would probably be like the original episode, although I may have to see the actual episode itself. Although something I think would be cool is if I use other statue characters. Maybe Talos, the Harryhausen Talos, or Talos, however you say it. I even thought of maybe using Daimajin. The Macro Beasts. I imagine my version of the episode could open up with Titanosaurus basically hunting abnormally large sharks. And as he's feeding off them, he notices this pinkish, purplish liquid coming out of them, which would pretty much be what's causing the marine animals to be so big in the first place. Titanosaurus pretty much realizes, wait, something's not right. Of course, I imagine this would be a great time to throw in Ebera and Gizora. Also, something I think would be kind of cool was maybe having Dagora in there. Dagora is this thing, if you didn't know. The idea is that a little meteorite containing a microorganism falls in the same water that the substance that's been making the other animals go large. And pretty much exposure to this substance causes the microorganism to grow into Dagora, who would kind of be like this bioluminescent jellyfish-looking creature with tentacles that can sometimes turn into like spears, kind of like Iris. And we would basically have Godzilla and Titanosaurus teaming up against Dagora after the other animals are turned back to normal. Pacific Peril. Something I thought would be kind of cool is if maybe I added a kaiju battle toward the end, where basically the magma lizards are shown worshipping their leader, who I thought maybe could be like this sort of Triceratops with a Stegosaurus tail and with volcanoes on its back that can shoot fireballs. And because the original show was produced by Hanna Barbera, I kind of thought it'd be kind of cool to sort of to make a little reference to another one of their shows in the Pacific Peril episode. The idea I had in mind for Pacific Peril was that Godzilla would team up with Tundra from the Herculoids. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Herculoids is a show produced by Hanna Barbera, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to maybe have Godzilla team up with Tundra as a sort of nice little nod against the monster I mentioned that Godzilla would fight. Island of Doom. Okay, this is where I'm kind of really going to give a spoiler warning for my ideas for Island of Doom and the series finales. So if you really don't want to get spoiled, then turn back now, because these are the episodes that I'm really excited for thinking about. So if you really don't want to get spoiled, click away. Now that that spoiler warning is over with, an idea I had for Godzuki is that he would grow throughout the series, and as for the finale, I kind of have an idea for him, but I think I'm going to make a different video for that another day or later. And that would also be a spoiler video for my plans. So again, if you don't want spoilers, stay away from that video. Essentially what would happen is that Godzuki would pretty much be almost as large as Godzilla. And he pretty much tries to free the Calico crew, except he's eventually shot down and almost killed by the military. He pretty much falls into the ocean, and Godzilla pretty much sees Godzuki. Angered by Godzuki's near death, he pretty much rampages across the island. I thought about maybe renaming this episode Terror of Doom Island. The reason for that? Remember when I said I'd save Mechagodzilla for later? This is the episode I thought of saving Mechagodzilla for. It would pretty much be revealed that after the Colossus of Atlantis episode, the remains of Mogera has pretty much washed ashore on the terrorist organization's island, and they pretty much used the remains of Mogera to build Mechagodzilla, in case Godzilla ever went to their island to feed off of nuclear radiation. And it would also be revealed that if that ever happened, they would intend to use Mechagodzilla as this massive weapon of destruction. Mechagodzilla would probably look something like this. One of the features I kind of wanted to sort of keep were the dorsal plates. The dorsal plates are based off a crescent moon, and there's a reason for this. When I watched the Hanna Barbera Godzilla series for the first time, I remember someone commented that Godzilla's dorsal plates in that show kind of looked like the upper half of those stereotypical five-pointed stars you'd see. And since the sun is a star, I kind of decided to sort of pay homage to that by basing this Mechagodzilla's dorsal plates off a crescent moon. Essentially what happens is that Mechagodzilla nearly kills Godzilla. That is until the Mogera part of Mechagodzilla's AI pretty much remembers what happened and how Godzilla pretty much saved Atlantis, and it pretty much decided to sort of show Godzilla gratitude by destroying one of the nuclear reactors, which allows radiation to leak out into Godzilla, and Godzilla, he pretty much gets supercharged and uses this powerful purple atomic breath against Mechagodzilla, which completely obliterates him, and then he destroys the organization, and he pretty much destroys their base, and he pretty much walks to the ocean, sad about what happened earlier. The Deadly Asteroid. I actually thought about doing a sort of two-parter finale for the series. The Deadly Asteroid would be part one of the finale, and pretty much be similar to what the original episode was like. The key difference between the original episode and my version of it being that the end of it would end with the Frios aliens releasing their weapon, Space Godzilla. This is how I can imagine Space Godzilla looking like. This leads into part 2 of the finale, which would be the main series finale. Originally, I was just going to have all the surviving good guy monsters team up against Space Godzilla, but then I thought about King Ghidorah, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to have them fight against Space Godzilla or Ghidorah, but then I kind of thought about having Ghidorah and Space Godzilla team up against the Earth monsters, and we'd pretty much have a destroy all monsters type of finale. Like I said, my ideas for Godzuki would probably be saved for a later video. But yeah,